just going to make a demonstration of the stages from making the film, the filming bit, through to putting it up onto YouTube in 1.5 hours. Okay? So, first of all, get your film. So, the film is going to be about Sir James Fraser and his methods of writing the Golden Bough. So this is what I'm doing now, is just going to get a little bit of film of Fraser, because obviously at some point it'd be a good idea to have a portrait of him. So I'm taking about, without a tripod in a rather wobbly way, but I'll show you, you can actually take out a frame of this if you want. So we've got a few seconds of Fraser. Another thing we'll probably need, and here I'll do a voiceover at the same time because I don't want to put a soundtrack over the top, is a piece about other writers on Fraser. Should be one other book. There they are. Okay, so we want a piece which says something as following. There have been a number of good books on Sir J.G. Fraser, Fraser and the Golden Bough by Angus Downey, Robert Ackerman's well-known book, J.G. Fraser, His Life and Work, and a number of others. And they've explored his intellectual and other theoretical background. I don't think any of them have actually realised how he wrote the Golden Bough, the actual practicalities, which is, to me, very revealing, and by chance I stumbled on. So we've got about 20 seconds of that. Okay, I talked to Ackerman about it. I told him how he wrote it, and he took no blind bit of notice. Right. GB, yes, Golden Bough. What I might get you to do is turn over from there when I say to there. Okay. Is that a nice long footnote? Let's see. It's not a very good example. I see my copy of the Golden Bough is at home. I just want one with a orange. That will do. That's in this one. Okay, so I'll start with that. So one of Fraser's much smaller books, not part of the great Golden Bough, is Psyche's Task, and this actually does illustrate a bit the problem, because if we turn over to the middle of this book, we find these footnotes. This is not at all exceptional, and indeed some of the pages of the Golden Bough have much longer footnotes. But the point I want to make here is that when he was writing a set of volumes, 12 volumes, over a period of some 20 or more years he was writing it, which had hundreds of thousands of footnotes, how did he know where the footnotes should come from, and how did he organise and arrange them in the right way? Okay. What I'll get you to do is, here is, at a certain point, just turn it over.
Okay. To the carbon copy page?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And indeed, let's see if we can finish this one. Yes, you could, when I show you, you can just tear a little bit of that up there, like that. Okay. As if you were Mrs. Fraser. Okay. The art of research, as defined in the PhD regulations, is to connect hitherto unconnected facts. Only connect, as Rosa Luxemburg and famously E.L. Forster put it. Connecting facts is what we're about. But how do we take facts out of lots of disparate places and put them together? Fraser's solution was to buy from a Cambridge retailer a receipt book. These receipt books had a front page with numbers on them, and then if you turned it over and put a bit of carbon paper, you had a second copy there. Now, the front page was perforated, and what he would do is he would index his very amazing collection. He had a huge library which nearly destroyed part of Trinity through its weight. He had a huge collection of books, but he also read many other books he didn't have. And he would transcribe notes from these books into other notebooks, and then he would go through and index them all. And just put very short indexes where, for example here, princess coming of age of a Zulu, serpent, I can't even read it, Zulu or something or other, disease, Zulu, South Africa, nails of Zulu chiefs allowed to grow. Now when he came to write his section or part of the significance of human nails in magic or whatever it was, he would, through the help of Lady Fraser, who spent her evenings tearing up these sheets into little slips and piling them into piles, so there would be a whole set of slips which were to do with human nails, and he would then immediately, very simply, write a page or two about the significance of human nails and hair and magical nails and so on. And a lot of the work had been done in the indexing stage. Without that, he couldn't possibly have done what he did, which was to make one of the great works of social anthropology. It's great, and it's probably the most famous book in anthropology, certainly the most influential, not just within anthropology, but elsewhere. For instance, in poetry, The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot. In art criticism, René Girard's work was influenced by it, and even in filmmaking. Coppola's Apocalypse Now ends with reference to Fraser, and indeed a copy of The Golden Bough is somewhere there in the ending. So Fraser made anthropology. He certainly helped found the department at Cambridge, but he couldn't have done so without these strange little notebooks.
Sorry,
Can you go on? This is so interesting.
Well, I'll do one other bit.
It's Serpent Skin put on Zulu at birth.
Serpent Skin, skin.
Yeah.
I thought it was Stein.
Hornball.
Well, we could do that bit again, and we'll see if we can edit it in the right place. So this says Serpent Skin put on Zulu at birth. So when he came to write about magical snakes or serpent skins and their connection with birth rituals, he would have this reference, and because it's got a number, 557, this would link him back to the book from which it came, so he could follow the clues back to taking him to the very detailed reference. Of course, there's much more to Fraser than just this. He was also a very great writer, and we have somewhere, what is that, it's about his writing, it's here. And we have examples of his writing. For example, when they set up a lectureship, the famous Fraser lecture, in his memory, this is the draft of his reply to the address thanking those who had inaugurated this lecture. And a lot of the writing, and it's interesting to see the way he crosses out things and is unsure of what he's writing at times, but fairly self-confident, and the handwriting is interesting too. But some of it is very beautiful. He was a classical scholar. In fact, he was a lecturer in classics all the time he was at Trinity. And he wrote beautifully, very erudite, and amazingly hard-working. He worked reputedly 364 days a year. He took off Christmas Day, and he worked for 12 hours a day, helped by Lady Fraser. She helped him in many ways. She was a Hornball lady, and one nice story is that towards the end he became deaf, had a huge ear trumpet, And Lady Fraser used to summon visitors and say, "Sir James will see you now," and they would go through in trembling and have to shout into his ear trumpet. So she guarded him against unwanted visitors, which probably gave him a bit more time as well. Okay, that's enough Fraser for now. Let's see, just see how much we've got. 6 minutes. We can probably cut it a bit, okay? So that's mise en scène, that's filming. All right?
So easy.
Something I always want to tell people, so maybe useful as well. Okay, let's. This next bit, I'll have to draw the curtains because this is the bit about editing. Well, the next bit is you've got your film here. This is digital video. It needs to be taken out, so we need to rewind it. And take it through the firewire, out of your camera. Out of the camera, into your computer. This firewire is what really made the modern revolution possible. Until they had a way of taking high density video, digital streams from place to place, you really couldn't develop. I think it was in the late 90s that the first firewires came in. It's about 10 years ago.
I've heard that apparently USB is getting very close to FireWire.
Yes, it is in speed. Yeah, you could take it out. This hasn't got a USB connection, but USB 2 is as fast. There are various generations of both of them. So let's have a look. Okay, now the next thing is that you want to do some editing on this. So I'll illustrate this with iMovie, which comes free with a Macintosh. You can just move that bottle aesthetically. So you go to your free. I've got a project which I modestly call My Great Movie One, which is on my desktop, and it's ready to. None of your trusted wireless networks can be found. No thanks. So the camera is already connected. Let's pick the camera up here, and I'm going to make a sort of compromise between filming and whatever. The way in which the screen is organised here, just to make it a little smaller, is terribly simple. Many editors have 2 or 3 screens simultaneously. In this case, it's just one screen, as you see, so everything happens in that screen. The only other sort of structural things is that you can either watch it in this form, which is as a set of clips, or you can turn it and then have 3 different timelines. And one of the first things I'll do, I think, is to put some music in, just to show you how easy it is to put some music in. Whether we'll use this music or not, I don't know, but one of Fraser's contemporaries at Trinity, undergraduate at Trinity, towards the end of Fraser's time, was the composer of The Lark Arising, whose name escapes me. Does anyone know who that is? Vaughan Williams. So I thought it would be nice to have a bit of Vaughan Williams in the background if we need any music. So all I've done here is just take a CD, and it's just dragged it into one of the timelines, hopefully. I hope I put it into the right timeline. And if we want to have some music, say, over the credits or something, as you'll see, it has a whole lot of its own inbuilt bits of music, trumpets and drums and bits of jazz and things which you can use. And because it's this fantastic integrated system, you've got the whole resources of the whole Mac world. I mean, you've got all your iPod film music, or you can just put in any music you like.
You're plugged into the Apple Corporation.
To a certain extent. Well, you can put in any other kind of music. Now, as you see, here's the Lark Rising. So,
and would you use the same process if you wanted to put in a voiceover?
sorry?
If you wanted to put in a
Yeah.
voiceover, would you use the same format as
You
this?
can either do it. I'm having trouble with voiceovers at the moment, so I can't give you a very good answer. I used to be able to. This has got. It's very easy if you're making a film, because this has got a microphone here, and as well as a camera. So while it's going along, I can put in a voiceover like that, or you can make it on a separate thing. But there should be other ways. I mean, it's explained in the design review. But some recent versions of the Apple Mac are not very good at allowing you to put a voice in. You have to get a special microphone and adapter and so on. So it's got worse in that respect. I mean, if you do it, that's why I did the commentary as I was filming it. But you should be able to put a voiceover. Because what you can do is you've got wild sound on the original picture. You've got a second track here, and you can put a third track, which is a voice, as you can see the three there. Okay? So we've got some, and you can turn them off. We'll turn off the Lark Ascending at the moment. The next thing which you need to do, obviously, is to drag in the this goes between editing mode and camera mode. If we import this, I'm not sure how long it'll take.
Because obviously at some point it would be a good idea to have a portrait of him. So I'm thinking about, without a tripod in a rather wobbly way, but I'll show you can actually take out a frame of this if you want. So
it's bringing that in. I've set it. You can either have it as a continuous stream of up to whatever length, or it can cut it every time you do a film cut. So here.
How do you get it to cut?
Sorry?
How do you get it to cut?
Well, it automatically cuts.
Oh, it does it? Okay.
It's cut. I've set it to change every time it's one of the defaults if you look into preferences or something
Right,
like
okay.
that.
Okay.
I've forgotten where it is, but I should think, yes, it will be under preferences here,
Thank you.
if we're in that form. So usually you can take in, there are different forms. Some you can take in 90 minutes, sometimes you can take a whole hour in without any cuts. It is quite useful when you're editing like this. Now, as you see, it usefully gives you the exact time length and everything else there. While it's importing the rest of it, and it should, no, it won't be there yet. I'll just show you some of the other features. This is the clip mode. Themes, I don't use these, I don't know what they're for really. Maybe they're stuff you put in at the beginning of the... Do you use this at all? No, you don't use this.
I usually use Final Cut Pro, so I'm not that familiar with these. But as far as I know, it's as if a sort of pre-produced way of putting in the credits in the end and so on.
Something like that, yeah. Media, here are various things that I've got already. For instance, I'm singing here. This is a song made famous by Vashti Bunyan, who's a folk singer who made a huge amount of money out of this. Unfortunately, she forgot that my mother wrote the words some 20 years earlier, and I could never find Vashti to demand some huge royalties. But anyway, so you could drag this in. You can see, you can set up. You can use this system called GarageBand to compose your own music or whatever, or sound effects, hard rain, play ahead. Okay, here's some hard rain. Apparently. Doesn't sound very hard to me. I've turned it off. That's There's the hard rain. It's probably down there. Last attempt to find some hard rain.
It reminds me of field work.
Okay, so it's been raining.
Be careful with the
So
sound.
you can put in forest, evening, cave, water drops, big waterfall, all sorts of things, computer there. All this is telephone ringing and so on. You can pull it in these things as well. Anyway, that's not very interesting. Editing. We might have a look at these later. The titles are very, very simple and easy to do, and we'll do a title. Transitions, I'll show you later. You fade in, fade out. You don't want to do too many of these, but it's got most of the ones that are, and this is an early version of iMovie, which you need, fading in, fading out, cross, dissolve, and so on and so on and so on. We'll try one or two of those. So it's got tools which would have been the dream of someone with a £250,000 device 10 years ago, and now for free here. Okay, let's see where we are with the clips. What happened was when I started fiddling, as is predictable, it stopped.
Had hundreds of thousands of footnotes. How did he know where the footnotes should come from, and how
I
did
did
he
not fiddle with it and just let
organise
this
and arrange them
come
in
in.
the right way? The art of research, as defined in the PhD regulations, is to connect the two.
I'll turn off the sound here because we don't want hard rain in the middle of Fraser. What else to say? Well, that's all there is really.
Actually, it's quite similar to what I used Premiere quite a while ago, but it looks quite similar to.
Yeah, I think the principle's the same. It's the number of screens you can open up and sophistication.
Would this just generally be available on the Macs in the
All
In the
this,
university?
this comes standard with an app.
Yeah.
So if we had our camera, we could take it and bring,
External hard
bring
drive,
along a
yeah.
kind of USB and download it and do it all in
Yeah.
time teaching or something.
Yeah.
Although I suppose we
I mean,
couldn't
our
use
plan in
sound.
the department is that once the server has been moved from the G5 downstairs, then that will become a dedicated department edit machine, because you need this is a G4 and fairly slow, but for some of the processes it's better to have a G5. So within some months, hopefully, when the walls move things around, we'll have a machine. And if any of you needed access to over the next few months to a G4, I can you can use the one I got next door. If you don't mind, Jake Copeman and various other people working around beside you, because it's been used by a bunch of other people.
It's definitely also worth talking to Paul, isn't it? And he's so sort of helpful and wanting to set
Yes.
it up and everything.
I mean, I think if anyone showed, because he was sorry he couldn't come, but he's genuinely interested in learning how to edit and do these things as well. What obviously needs to happen is a user community. I mean,
Yes.
Zeeland, who didn't come, knows is a pretty good filmmaker, very good filmmaker, and a very good editor. And there are around among the graduate students, for example, the founder of as Sock Dog Sock. Ellie Gurney is a social anthropologist, and though she's just finishing at the moment, and the Social Documentary Society has cameras, it bought a number of good cameras. It's got courses on filmmaking, it's got very good contacts with filmmakers and so on. So quite a lot of people in Cambridge can help. It's just a matter of, as I think Sean said, really confidence. It's a little bit of time. The great thing nowadays is that if you have your own machine in your own space, then editing is a kind of gestalt. It's a total experience. You can't do 10 minutes of editing and then go away and do something else and come back and do 10 minutes of editing. You need, once you start editing, or you start making film, you need just to do that. So it doesn't take very long, but you need uninterrupted, and often, it'll go on into the evening or over a weekend. So the idea of 9 to 5 editing, especially sharing with someone else, comes in, which is the bane of everything that happened at this university until recently, because you had to do everything over in central facilities, and they would give you a slot and you had 2 hours and then someone else. That's hopeless. Now you can do it as a relaxing thing. A lot of people do it to music, some of the best editors, because if you're doing rather aesthetically interesting editing, you have music that is to the pace of what you're doing. Some of the film editors that I've interviewed and so on, they cut to the music, to the rhythm of the music, because really good editing should be rhythmical and there should be a flow and feeling to it. Okay? I think this is probably the last. There is an interview in that thing that I mentioned the day that the world took off, the television series. There's an interview done by Mark Turin of the person who edited those films about some basic editing skills and techniques that he uses. It's a thing, proper editing is a craft which you learn from editors. And it's not something you can really teach. It's just, I know perfectly well I'm no good at it because I'm too impatient. So as I mentioned, my kind of editing is really still from the days of kind of illustrated lectures. In other words, the things driven forward usually by the voice and then cutting to that voice. The other thing nowadays, of course, is to make short films. So we always have to save everything. Can't save it until you go across to editing mode. So we go to editing mode, file, save project. In the old days, you were very constricted by the time length. If you were making a television film, it had to be 45 minutes. It couldn't be more than an hour. It shouldn't be less than 30 minutes. Now, most things on YouTube are about 3 or 4 minutes. And attention spans are short. So short 20-minute films are perfectly good. The other wonderful thing is that you can just do a rough cut and then put it up and then take it off and make a better film, which is what we're doing here. Okay, so we have our film ready here. The next thing is to, you can take it in bit by bit. Here I'm in your hands, in the sense that you help me decide how this should be made into a film. My feeling is that it should start with a title and then a picture of Fraser. Does that sound a reasonable start? This is too long. So you can, one thing you can do is to save export, save frame. So we could call this Fraser. There probably is a better way of doing this. I'll just do it as I remember. So it's just taking a frame out of this, which should be on the desktop somewhere. And Paul has rearranged my desktop, but there I see it up here, down here. So there's a little JPEG here. So I could have shortened it, but you would have got the wobble there. So this is what you can do with your JPEGs and your photographs. Just drag them in. So we'll put that back up there. And we've got a 5-second photograph of Fraser. Just now, this is the real elegance of it. Sound is here. You can put it through, obviously nothing is happening, you can put it through to the place you want. You can cut the first 16 seconds out of it. If I just do the carriage return now, it will cut that bit. Or you could cut another bit of it, you could move this up. You can move this up to somewhere else and move that to there, and you can cut out of it. So if you want to cut bits out of films, it's terribly simple. Or, but we don't want to do that, so we'll go back. Or if we move that in there, just to show you, this is the clip we're thinking about. We think it's a bit too long. If you press Apple T, it cuts it into 2 frames there, and so you can then put something in between or whatever. So if you ever make a mistake, you can go back about 6 or 10 steps, undo split.
So where would you find split in the menus at the top then? If you didn't remember that it was Apple.
It's usually split video.
Right,
Head. It's got the thing is
okay.
App T. Select all as Apple A. I could have created a still frame by going that combination. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are the simple editing things. Okay. Well, we've got that. Let's just listen. I'm pretty deaf, so you'll have to tell me whether you think all of this should go in or not. Next time, probably not.
So J.G. Fraser, Fraser on the Golden Bough by Angus Downey. Robert Ackerman's well-known book, J.G. Fraser, His Life and Work, and a number of others. And they've explored his intellectual and other theoretical background. I don't think any of them have actually realised how he wrote The Golden Bough, the actual practicalities, which is, to me, very revealing, and by chance I stumbled on.
Now that last bit, there's going to be a bit of space there, so go there, and then if you click on that, that goes into the rubbish. You see at the bottom right, okay? Let's just see that the beginning was okay. I wasn't really listening.
There have been a number of good books on Sir J.G. Fraser, Fraser on the Golden Bough by...
I think it's more or less okay. Should we just leave it right now? This is
one of Fraser.
There's a rather a gap there, so, and you can go through frame at a time with right-hand bottom thing. So we can get it. Let's hope that's okay. We'll cut that there.
So you press the split thing.
Sorry?
The way you've done that is by going split frame,
Yeah.
the Apple T, and then
Just
trashing.
Yeah, that's right. We just hope that I haven't trashed the beginning of my.
Fraser's much smaller books, not part of the Great Golden Bough, is Psyche's Task, and
No, well, actually, I'll have to go back because I missed a word there. Undo clear. And if we go just to the end of here, we just see.
one of Fraser.
So there's a bit. You could cut it there. Maybe too small to cut. No, it's all right. So we'll cut out that bit there. You see I've done both of them. That's a very easy thing to do. You have to clear it and then get rid of that. So let's see what it's like now.
One of Frasers' much smaller books, not part of the Great Golden Bough, is Psyche's Task, and this actually does.
Let's assume that the middle bit is we're not going to fiddle about with. We'll just see how the ending is.
Over a period of some 20 or more years, he was writing.
There's something odd there. It didn't quite.
I think that's from when we interrupted the
20 or more
download
years, he was
for
writing.
Rain. So the next,
Oh, right.
the next one should continue on
So
from
the
it
next
directly.
bit should go on.
Which had hundreds of thousands of footnotes.
That should be right.
How did he know where the footnotes should come from, and how did he organise and arrange them in the right way?
That's okay.
I think just one thing I'm realising that might be interesting is that because you talk very clearly and slowly, it's really easy to edit. Like I sometimes when I'm sort of really excited, I talk very fast,
Mhm.
and then it's really hard to cut out bits and pieces.
Mhm.
So this kind of, I mean, you have the right,
Speed.
yeah, the right speed as well as clarity. So I think that's very important when you.
Thank you.
I guess people you interview, you can't ask them to do that,
Yeah.
but with voiceover,
Yes,
it's
you-
really
you
helpful.
should
Like
slow them
I've
down.
stumbled over that a lot.
That's a good point.
The art of research, as defined in the PhD regulations, is to connect hitherto
This is a bit louder. Now, there is a way. I think if you go down to here, I won't do it actually, but if you go to this is the bit of film we're doing, and if you you can turn the sound down here, change the volume of the selected clip. Let's just make it a bit softer, okay? Just to show you that's what you can do. Whether that will work or not, I don't know, but anyway. Let's go back to there. So we've quietened this down a bit and see.
connected facts. Only connect, as Rosa Luxemburg and famously E.M. Forster put it. Connecting facts is what we're about.
Okay, well let's assume that all this is, except there was a bit, which I don't know whether there was a bit where I couldn't read nails of
Mhm.
chiefs allowed to grow. Is that it? Or
It was the serpent skin.
It was the
I think
was
serpent.
the
Not that one.
skin put on?
Yeah.
That's right. So let's see what it says.
The Zulu. Serpent.
Now, now, if we had time, we would just go back to, well, we'll just see if we can do it, and it's not too difficult maybe. I'll just take it back to the beginning of Serpent. We cut it there, we bring in this clip, which we did, this bit here, we see if this is. So this says serpent skin put on Zulu at birth. So when he came to write about magical snakes or serpent skins and their connection with birth rituals, he would have this reference, and because it's got a number, 557, this would link him back to the book from which it came, so he could follow the clues back to taking him to the very detailed reference. Of course, there's not probably not really, of course. Of course, when I said the enemy, the best of the enemy, the good, you see my editing is just like this, very rough. Because either we get it done and it's off to YouTube, or it'll never go to YouTube. So we'll go for it. Let's cut it there, okay? And hope we haven't cut too much off there. Which bit do we want off? This bit. Right. And then there's this last bit here. Just this should, let's see how that ends. And we have examples of his writing, those who had inaugurated this lecture. And a lot of the writing, and it's interesting to see the way he crosses out things and is unsure of
what he's writing at times, but fairly self-confident, and handwriting is interesting too. But some of it is very beautiful. He was a classical scholar, in fact he was a lecturer in classics all the time he was at Trinity. And he wrote beautifully, very erudite, and amazingly hard-working. He worked reputedly 364 days a year. He took off Christmas Day, and he worked for 12 hours a day, helped by Lady Fraser. She helped him in many ways. She was a formidable lady, and one nice story is that towards the end he became deaf, had a huge ear trumpet, and Lady Fraser used to summon visitors and say, "Sir James will see you now," and they would go through in trembling and have to shout into his ear trumpet. So she guarded him against unwanted visitors, which probably gave him a bit more time as well.
Okay. Do you think we need that anecdote, or do you think it's a bit frivolous?
It is a 6-minute clip.
Yeah,
Should we
and
cut it?
I don't know the problem is it's frivolous, but it doesn't connect.
Sorry?
It doesn't connect
No,
with
no.
the rest of it. So
Okay,
you
let's
could,
take it out. So we'll have say helped by Lady Fraser.
One nice story is
Yeah, that's about it. So just before that.
Hornball lady, and one nice story of 12 hours a day, helped by Lady Fraser.
That's okay. Right, so we'll get rid of that. Frequently save project, because you can lose everything very simply. So we've got a 5-minute clip. Now we want some titles. Okay, titles. Centered titles the simplest. I compromise, but let's put Sir James Fraser. No. Sir James Fraser. Butch. Okay. This, it's if you think, you'll tell me what you think. The speed, this makes it.
It's fine.
do you need a capital T for
You
the
could make
golden
it a bit
vowel?
bigger.
How could you change the colour? Oh, I see, sorry, colour.
Colour here.
Yeah.
Put it some right colour.
I just didn't know how you change it. It probably looks better. But,
Make it
well,
golden.
Oh, it's good.
Golden. Okay. Now, is that golden?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of Coleman's mustard kind of way. Yeah.
Yeah, but you couldn't have it genuinely golden.
No, I know.
Right against it.
So you've got the speed, the size, the pause while it's up, and so on and so on and so on. Remember, this is going to be read on YouTube, so it has to be fairly large. The second title is always smaller, which is, we'll make it a pause a little longer, okay? Let's people want to see what it's about. Now, what you do is, you drag the centered title to where you want it. It renders it.
Could you do it over a frame?
You could. You could do it over his face or whatever, all sorts of things. I mean, we could have taken that,
Yeah.
made it longer, put it over the top of it. But I'll leave it for the moment. But that would be very simple.
Yeah.
At the end, I'll just show you one other thing, which is there must be another way. You may know, Sabina, but this is a way I
To make more space at the beginning.
to make a black.
Yeah. No,
So
I mean that's what you do. I mean I only know it from Final Cut Pro, but I mean that's
you make a little black
yeah.
bit there.
Mhm.
I've forgotten how you... Actually, I wanted a longer black, so let's make it a longer black. Okay, it's hopefully 5 seconds or something like that, black. I'll show you why I want this. That's 4 seconds, that's okay. Because, as they say with movie editing, you want to fade to black, you don't want to end just like that, okay? And this will show you. So we want to fade out onto black as I'm talking on, but the picture will fade out. So we take editing, we take transitions, fade out. That's how it will look. Okay? Fade out. We could have put his portrait there. I sort of half thought of putting his portrait there as well. So we can now look and see what this looks like, this last bit. Let's,
Sorry, Alan, what was it that you did in order to get that extra bit of black?
I moved to this view, which is that view, and I dragged it across.
Right.
And that's what you
clip,
do.
and then just drag the
the
thing across a bit like
You
that.
dragged that bottom thing across. Oh, okay.
And that creates some black
Yeah,
for some
okay.
reason. Okay, so let's just see
Don't
what
forget you've got
we
almond
probably don't want this black here, and we want that. We could make this longer and put in lark, with the lark ascending, not be too clever. Let's just see what this last bit. Well, let's move this to. See, this is where you are. So if we go out a bit and drag this a bit.
So I think you might have to take this here.
And let's just see what the last bit looks like.
Days a year, he took off Christmas Day, and he worked for 12 hours a day, helped by Lady Fraser.
And it's faded the sound as well, of course, but I think we'll just stick with that, okay? So, file, save, save project. Why can't we save project? It's still whizzing along for some reason. Save project. Okay.
If you wanted to put in a subtitle, so say it was in another language or something, how would you do that? Would you have to split the files down and put in that title feature, or is there a way that you could have rolling subtitles?
Put in subtitles.
Well, the way I know to do it, and I'm not sure if it's the same in iMovie, but it must be, I think, is that you have these different lines, right? You can put in different sounds, and you can do that as a subtitle function as well. So when you work with it, you just have a specific one line where you can let the subtitles roll, and you choose a transparent frame, so to say where only the thing is, the language, and it sort of goes along as you want to. It's not, I mean, it can't be too difficult with iMovie because it's not.
Would anyone like any more tea? Right.
Yes, please.
If you're doing,
Because we can use the same